Hi, my name is Timbo, and this is the Living Fearlessly podcast, all about pursuing your dreams and overcoming your fears. Each week, I'm going to have an amazing guest where we talk about how they overcome their fears, the fears they are yet to face, and the tools that help them do so. So it's a chance to get to know me and the guest. We're going to get personal. So let's get started. There is nothing to fear. I have a very, very special guest today. He is a political heavyweight, journalist, writer, Alastair Campbell.
You forgot to mention my podcast.
Oh, sorry. Let's do that again.
No, don't do it again. Just carry on.
Let's just carry on.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
How's everything?
It's all right. I've just had a very, very, very busy week in Northern Ireland. I'm absolutely knackered. But
Oh my gosh! But thank you for being here.
It's all right. You have to give me energy. I'm reading main character energy there.
Yes.
In bright colours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we are all main characters in our own life. So you don't believe so?
No, I think a lot of people are not main characters in their own lives.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I think some people are about giving and being characters in other people's lives.
But isn't that the character of
Oh yeah, that's their
life,
character. Yeah,
you know?
I guess. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
for me personally, you living your truth, living your own perspective, isn't that main character energy?
I guess when I see the words main character, I'm thinking theatre and books
No,
and
it's
plays.
it's more so yourself,
Right.
how you see the world.
Okay.
What is your perspective?
I've definitely got a main character perspective. I know how I
Yes.
see the world. I know what I want my role to be in it. But I don't think everybody lives that, and certainly a lot of people don't live fearlessly.
Definitely, and that's what this book is going to teach people.
Are we going to
do.
talk about your book or my book?
We're going to talk about your book as well.
Okay. It's quite bold to have a podcast where you just basically start talking about your own book. I like that.
Thank you. I try. It helps. It helps.
I also like the way that your clothes match the cover. That's quite smart.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
try to
Is that deliberate?
match everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to wear pinks, greens, blues.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm quite a matchy girl, so
Yeah.
that everything looks aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, but the nails, do they match? I mean, I'm not
They
really good
match
on colours.
my book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very
Yes,
good. Very
yes.
good.
Let's get into the quick fire questions.
Go on then.
How do you feel about it?
Quick
Feeling
fire.
nervous? Yeah, it's like
No,
you
I don't
you have to answer it in like 5 seconds.
Okay, I don't get nervous. It's fine.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. What was your greatest fear as a child?
Burnley losing.
What is your greatest fear now?
Illness of self, Fiona, my partner, or my kids.
Are you afraid of death?
Yes.
What is the most frightening thing you have ever done?
Most frightening thing that ever happened to me was a psychotic breakdown. Most frightening thing I've ever done, I once, when I was on my way to my psychotic breakdown, I once threw a chair into a crowd of people at a railway station from a balcony.
Wow,
And
that's
it
bold.
landed
That's
on
bold.
about the
Could you
only...
put the mic more closer to you, I think?
And I once chucked a chair over a balcony at a railway station, and as it was flying through the air, I thought,
Oh
my God, what have I done? And it landed on about the only space on the forecourt that didn't have any
Really?
people.
So you're so lucky that it didn't
Totally.
hit anyone?
Totally.
Wow.
So that was quite scary. I still dream about that.
Or still have thoughts about it?
No, dreams.
Dream?
Yeah.
Wow. That's something. Let's get into the next one. If you were afraid, who would you call?
Fiona.
If you were afraid and you couldn't call anyone, what tricks would you use to stay cool?
I've got one actually, which I use for anxiety. I get anxiety along with depression, and I've got this little trick I do, which a sports psychologist taught me. It's a centering technique. I basically just rub my thumb and my forefingers together like that.
Like this?
Yeah. So if I feel anxiety, actually happens quite a lot when I'm doing public speaking
Right.
and interviews and stuff like that. Or if somebody has a go at me in the street, something like that, I just do that.
It's quite calming, isn't
It's
it?
very calming.
Well, I learned a new trick today.
There you go. That's what I do. That's what I do.
So would you do it midway in like a speech or
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, because the other thing is I get asthma. And sometimes if I feel my asthma coming on, it helps with that as well somehow. Because it makes you breathe a little bit more slowly as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There you go.
What would you say to a young person that's entering politics today?
Go to the bookshop and buy a book by a guy called Alastair Campbell called But What Can I Do?
Make sure you check it out.
And seriously, the reason for that is what I'd say to them is just get involved.
Right.
Whatever you do, get involved. I've just come back from Belfast, as I said, spent 4 days there, and they're looking back because 25 years ago there was this Good Friday Agreement which essentially brought peace to Northern Ireland. And I was talking yesterday to about 100 school kids. So they've lived in a part of the UK that's defined by violence and scarred by hatred, and 3,500 people got killed in the violence. And they've grown up in a generation where they've not known that.
Wow.
But there's stuff can go backwards. And I was basically saying to them, you're the next generation, you've got to get involved. So I say to all people, even though politics can be horrible, you've got to get engaged and you've got to get involved. I've got no time for people who say they can't be bothered to vote. I've got no time for people who say it doesn't make a difference who's in government, because it's absolute nonsense. Look at this shower we've got in charge now. You look at Trump in America. I've got no time for people who say nothing ever changes, because the world changes all the time. And the question is, how do you make the change? So that's what I'd say, get involved. Do it.
I love that. I think it's so important to give that message to people that sometimes they feel like their voices won't be heard, or it doesn't matter.
Often it won't. But it won't. You won't even have a chance of it being heard unless you use it.
Yeah, it's true. All facts, honestly. And what would you say if they were afraid of the challenge?
I'd say I understand why they're afraid. And I tried to help them overcome the fear.
Okay.
I spoke recently. There's a wonderful woman called Julia Gillard, used to be Prime Minister of Australia, and she was very shy as a child. She was born in Wales, but she went to Australia as a young child. And she said that, when young women say to her now, I'm thinking of going into politics, but I hate the abuse, I hate the aggression, I hate all the social media stuff that you get and all the death threats and all that stuff. And she'd say to them, yeah, it's really bad and that stuff's really horrible, but just imagine how good you feel if you can actually make the world better for people.
Exactly.
So I try and make them overcome the fear. And also I think, one of the things I think is wrong with this country, with Britain, is that, and actually I've got a chapter about this in the book, is that kids who go, the private schools, here's a fact for you, Fats, right? 3 times as many prime ministers in this country have come from one school, Eton, as have come from the Labour Party.
Wow.
Right? Something like 21-7 or something like that. So and what those private schools do is yes, a lot of the kids who go there have got the advantages of privilege and money already, but what they actually do is they teach them confidence. They instill confidence. They make them feel that they are entitled to have their voice heard, okay? Whereas a lot of kids aren't given that confidence, won't necessarily get it from their background, don't necessarily get it from their parents. A lot do, but a lot don't. So,
they're already advantaged way more than any other person that's gone to a state school. So...
I look at people. You've seen them being. Look, Boris Johnson is Prime Minister, right? If that guy didn't have his background, I think he'd struggle to get a job anywhere.
Definitely,
right?
I agree.
So, but yet nobody thinks it's odd that these sort of people get to the top, because that's how it's always been.
Yeah.
So, I think encouraging young people that actually, and that's why when you look at, I'm not just going to sit here and slag Tories. John Major became Prime Minister, a Tory Prime Minister. He came from a very, very, very poor background, right? So you can do it. It's
possible.
Yeah.
It's so possible. We're going to move on to my commandments. I
Your
have 10 commandments in this book. So each commandment is an action to becoming more fearless and becoming more confident. So I'm going to read each one to you and then give you some questions.
God, it's really clever, this. Yeah, you do a whole podcast. You get people in who've written books and you talk about your own book. It's smart.
You.
Smart, you know, maybe I should do my nails as well. What do you think?
Have a little manicure. You
My
know?
book cover's just red and white.
Is it?
Yeah, what do you think? Red, white, or do them both half and half, red
Yeah,
and white?
why
What do you think?
not? You could have like a French tip there. That'd be
Of a
cool.
what?
A French tip, like you know when they have
What's a
like
French
a
tip?
color at the top.
Oh, is that a French tip?
Yeah, that's what you call French tip.
Okay. Yeah, I've never had my nails done.
You should check it out.
No, I
Honestly,
won't.
try.
It's not
Oh
my
my
scene. It's
gosh.
really not my scene.
Let's move on to the next one. So, commandment 1.
Mm.
Be unexpected.
Hmm.
Don't change yourself to fit the world's expectations. Change the world to make it expect you. So, have you defied people's expectations?
Yeah, I'd have thought so, yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure I agree with that one, though.
You don't think so?
Well, just say it again.
Don't change the world to fit the world's expectations. Change the world to make it expect you.
Yeah, I get what you're getting to, but I mean, change the world, definitely.
Right.
Change the world, but again, it's not about change the world about you. It's changing the world because of the things that you believe and the values that you hold. So I buy that, yeah.
Right.
I think I've done that, yeah. I mean, I think if you'd have said to my parents when I was growing up, oh, Alastair will probably end up working in Downing Street, or, you know, Alastair will write 18 books by the time he's 65, or here's the best one, Alastair will play football with Diego Maradona, the greatest footballer who ever lived,
Wow.
then I think they'd have been quite surprised by that.
Really?
So that's, I think I've defied expectations, yeah.
So would you say like in school, what type of school did you go to?
Well, I went to do you know what? It's really weird this. I spent my whole life thinking I went to a comprehensive school. And it turns out, I learnt this from Gary Lineker, who went to the same school. It actually became a comprehensive school, but it was a grammar school when I started there.
Right.
But I'd gone there in mid-term. So, but it was a pretty ordinary school in Leicester, my senior school. And I actually, I don't know if I was always a bit weird. I didn't like school, but I loved learning.
Right. You
And I
like
love-
learning? Are you a fast learner? Is that why?
Yeah, I think I'm a fast learner. I read a lot. I've always loved words. And so the stuff I was best at school was English, French, German, and that's what I did at A-level. I love languages.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love words. It's all about words.
What about German? Do you like German?
Ich liebe die deutsche Sprache. Wir können den ganzen Podcast auf Deutsch machen, wenn du so willst, was.
Hi. Ich bin Fatima.
Yeah.
Oh, I got that.
Yeah. Actually, you'd probably say ich heiße Fatima.
Okay, ich heiße Fatima.
Fatima, because
I did learn it, but I forgot.
You'd say
all of
ich
it.
bin for then like a quality, like ich bin, or for a, you know, ich bin großzügig. I'm assuming you are.
Okay.
Are you großzügig?
No, I don't know what that means.
It means,
so I
generous.
don't-
It means generous.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What's yes again? What's yes again?
What, ich heiße?
No, what's yes in German?
Ja.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
God, you really have forgotten a lot.
I've forgotten everything. Everything. 10 years ago, like, it's, yeah,
I love words. Love words.
amazing. So, was you naughty at school though? Since you liked learning, but was you like a teacher's pet or was you naughty? Or in between?
Both.
Both.
I'd say a lot of the teachers liked me,
Okay.
but I was quite difficult to handle. And when I was at senior school, because when I was born in Yorkshire,
Right.
do you know where that is?
Yeah, I know what it.
Where is
I've
it?
been Yorkshire.
Okay.
It's in the
Keighley?
north. It's in the north of England.
Yeah.
And Sheffield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been to Sheffield.
That's South Yorkshire. I was born in a place called Keighley. Have you heard of that?
No.
No. So Keighley, town of about 50,000 people. And then my dad was a vet and he got involved in a really bad accident, had to give up his practice, and he got a job and we moved to Leicester.
Right.
And I was a big Burnley fan, football team, still am, have been all my life. And when I was at school in Leicester, I never, ever, 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 ever took off my Burnley scarf, apart from PE, which was
Why is that?
Because I supported Burnley, and I guess it was a way of me saying I don't really belong here. This isn't my place. So I was quite rebellious in that way, and they always tried to get me to take it off, and I didn't really. I think I'll tell you what teachers I think found difficult with me. The ones who liked me. I once had an art teacher at school who threw a chisel at me.
A chisel?
Yeah.
What did you do for her to throw a chisel at you?
Why do you know it was a her or not a him? It was a him.
Oh, him. Well, I don't know. It seems like a woman would do that.
It's interesting you think it would be a woman who'd throw a chisel at me.
I don't know.
Anyway, it missed. Imagine if it had hit me.
I know.
Yeah.
Imagine. Would he even have a job?
I was messing about. And
he threw a chisel. Wow.
I really provoked him. Yeah.
So going back to journalism, right? So you were a journalist.
Of course.
How much of journalism was about confirming people's expectations, and how much was it about defying them?
I think what I saw journalism as I still do is actually just trying to tell stories about the real state of the world. And most of my journalism was with the Daily Mirror, which was now the expectation on a paper like the Daily Mirror is you're going to be doing politics. You're going to be Labour, which I am. You're going to be anti the Tories, which I am, and you're going to try to get the sorts of stories that fit that overall narrative. But I think, again, I've written about the importance of journalism in the book. I think journalism in Britain is in a bit of a mess. But we actually need good journalists more than ever because there's so much bad stuff in the world and there's not enough being said about it.
So much bad stuff. The things I see on the news, it's just cost of living, inflation, like natural disasters. Like when I saw all the stuff about Turkey, a month later, I didn't see any of it again.
It goes. Yeah, I know.
But I think they need to keep it in the headlines.
Yeah, when you say they are we.
News, the media outlets.
But we can shape what the news is. But if the fact that we, the people,
right,
watch the stuff we do, tweet and post the stuff we do, read the newspapers that we do, we're part of that. So that's why I would say to anybody, never buy the Daily Mail, ever, because in buying it, you're saying something about the sort of world that you want.
True. I never looked at it that way.
There you go.
Wow. Yeah, different outlook now towards it. I will never get the Daily Mail again. I might read it just for a cheeky.
No, and it includes online, by the way, because that's just paying them to keep the filthy paper going.
No, yeah, I've never looked at it that way.
Okay.
But it's an interesting outlook, though, because it is true. You're kind of buying into it, and whatever they say, you kind of believe it.
Well, it's not anything. Yeah. If you buy anything, you're buying into it. You're deciding that stuff that food's different, right? But actually, even when you're buying food, you're saying something about yourself. But if you decide every day you want some guy to come from the newsagent and put a copy of the Daily Mail or the Daily Telegraph or the Sun or the Daily Express through your letterbox, you're saying something about yourself. You're saying this is the sort of world I believe in, where we, hate migrants and think climate change is a bit of a hoax and think that unless you believe the worldview they've got, then there's something wrong with you.
Interesting. It's really true, I think, because even the climate change thing, it's going to affect our grandchildren's grandchildren. Like, it's really bad. As the way it's affecting the world, I think, it's just going to be downhill from here.
Well, unless
we do something about it. But if
I've devoted a chapter in the book to Greta. Greta Thunberg is living proof to the nonsense that one person can't make a difference. She made the difference on her own. She started a protest about the climate on her own, literally with one placard outside the Swedish Parliament. From that moment, everything she's done has grown.
Wow. Yeah.
So stop all this podcasting and book stuff. Get out there and start doing stuff.
I know.
Change the world.
I need to start doing protests myself, innit?
Yeah.
Start walking on the street with
Exactly.
just
Get your nice sort of yellow and pink posters and
exactly.
away
It
you
needs
go.
to be yellow and pink.
Multi-branding, eh?
It needs to be yellow and pink. But we're gonna move on to commandment 2.
Mhm.
Which is let love be your superpower. Take care of those who care about you, and they will help you fly. So, who are the people that have made you fearless?
Well, I completely agree with the sentiment, by the way,
Thank you.
but they're not necessarily the people who made me fearless. The people I love.
Right.
I mean,
you make you feel fearless.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think a combination of your character and your experience, but certainly, I think I'd say Fiona again first. And then I think I can think of popping into my head people you won't have heard of, but people I've worked with.
Right.
You know, and I think actually having worked for Tony Blair, having a good boss is incredibly important. I had a great boss when I was a journalist at the Daily Mirror, a guy called Richard Stott. He made me fearless. I'll tell you how. When I had that breakdown, I'd left the paper I was on to go to a rival, and he was really angry with me. But when I had the breakdown, when I was still in hospital, he was saying, if you need your old job back, you can come back. And I'll tell you why that made me fearless, because I thought, wow, I thought my life was over, my professional life was over, and he's shown me
That it wasn't.
that you can recover from setback.
Right.
And I think recovery from setback, I've invented a new word. I'm going to see whether I can get as many book plugs as you. It's called But What Can I Do?
Right.
And it's absolutely brilliant. It's published by Penguin Random House on May the 11th.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But I've invented a new word in it.
What word?
Perseverance.
Perseverance.
And that's the combination of perseverance and resilience. Perseverance is when you just keep going.
Right.
You just keep going whatever people are throwing at you. And over time, that gives you resilience.
Yes, it does.
Gives you the resilience to keep going. So I've written a whole thing about perseverance, my new word.
I think that is definitely the definition of me.
Perseverance. But I thought of the word.
Yeah.
Right. It's not, you've got to have 11 commandments now. Be perseverant.
Yeah, perseverance. Literally. Because even yesterday, for example, when me and my partner, we were coming out of the station and these two guys were just laughing hysterically at me. And what can I do? There's nothing I can do. I can't change. Can't change how I look. All I can do is change how I react to people. So my partner was just getting so angry. He was like, but I was like, babes, it's okay. It's fine. I have been in Vogue today, okay? And nothing is going to change that. I'm a Vogue model now. So it's what it is. No, but without that, like, if I wouldn't have been able to be in Vogue if I wasn't perseverance. Yeah. So yeah, I do resonate with that.
Yeah, because you've had to be resilient.
Yes.
Because we live in a world where you talk about expectations. People's expectations are put on you from birth, and you've had to defy them literally all your life. And yeah, you are a very good example of perseverance, actually.
Thank
and
you.
That's made you kind of do stuff that those people laughing at you would never have thought you could do. And what's more, even better though, they will never do.
Yeah, they will never do.
And I think that's another message because you've just done a sort of subliminal plug of your book there. Another message in my book is don't care about what people think of you unless they matter to you.
Right.
So like if my parents had thought I was a terrible son, if Fiona thought I was a terrible partner, which sometimes she has done, but generally if she thought that life was better without me than with me, that would destroy me. If my kids thought I was a terrible parent, which sometimes they may have done, but in general I don't think they do, that would destroy me. If people whose opinion I really respect and value thought I was some of the things that people sometimes say I am, that would upset me. But if some twat on Twitter or some guy in the Daily Mail or the Daily Express writes a piece or whatever, it just literally does not bother me. So I think you're right. But it's very, very hard for your partner. I can get that.
Yeah, it's really hard.
And also, I just think it's, even if it wasn't you, if you saw that happening to somebody else, you'd be upset by it. Maybe more than if it was you.
Definitely.
You
It's
know?
happened that way. My friend, she's got cerebral palsy and she walks differently to people. She doesn't have much balance.
Yeah.
So she staggers when she walks.
Yeah.
And when I'm seeing people laughing at her, it makes me so angry. So I think, yeah, that's what my partner is feeling as well, every single time. But it's one of those things, you know, they love you, they want to protect you. So, yeah, and I'm going to ask now, was there love in your relationship with Tony?
Close. I was with him yesterday
Really?
in Belfast, yeah. No, I think it's got... I really like him. I think he's a really good bloke. I respect him even more at the end of the whole time that we were in government than I did at the beginning, which is... Not a lot of people say that about people in politics. And I defend him. I still defend him very, very strongly because I think he was of a different league to the clowns and charlatans we've got now. Different league.
He made so many changes, isn't it?
For the better, Fats.
Yes.
For the better.
For the better.
For the better.
Yes, for the better. I love that. And do you feel like you have a duty of care for him?
I feel like I am an important voice in getting a message out there that politics matters, that getting good people into politics really matters, which is why I've written this book, by the way. Fats.
Yes.
And that he, for all the stuff that people criticise him for, was an exceptional political talent and did a lot of stuff to make this country a better place. Sadly, too much of it undone by this lot. But so, yeah, I do feel a duty of care to his, I guess to his reputation, because part of my job was actually, you know, trying to communicate the reality of him and his reputation. And I still do that.
It's an amazing thing.
Unpaid.
But it's okay, you get paid in the long run.
Exactly.
Through love, you know?
Yeah, although he believes in God and I don't, so, you know, I don't do the heaven and hell thing.
Really?
Do you do God?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Go
We'll
on
be
then.
here all day.
No, come on, this is quick fire. Do you do God, yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Because my dad will beat me up if I say no.
That's basically a no. That's
No,
no, but.
I do. No,
that's
I
no
do.
but rather than yes but.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
Okay. Let's not get in trouble with my dad.
Okay. No, you don't get in trouble with your dad.
Well, let's move on to commandment 3. We kind of touched on this earlier. It's rise above. Every great thing was at one point new and different. Those who fear their own difference will want to point out yours. So if you want to be great, you'll have to rise above. How do you deal with critics?
First of all, look, some critics, they just don't get near me. I don't care. Okay. But often a critic can have something worth hearing. So I'd say, listen to the criticism rather than the critic.
Right.
What are they actually saying in the criticism? Don't listen to abuse. Don't listen to the guys laughing at you as you get off the train. But if somebody, quite often people will say things to me that I think, yeah, they've got a point. They've got a point. So
if it's constructive.
Well, even if it's not, even if sometimes I did something recently where I kind of had a feeling at the time, I shouldn't have done that. So maybe they were speaking to something that I was already feeling. I'd gone over the top. I'd gone a bit over the top in an exchange I had with somebody. Again, I don't know if I'm allowed to use. Can I use the W word on this show?
We'll try not to swear.
No swearing. Here. Okay.
But I think I know what you mean.
Yeah. Okay.
It ends with ka.
Ka.
Okay.
So I won't say the word, but I write in the book about I've got a thing in my head called the W switch.
Okay.
And this is born from a time when I was doing an event with Matt Ford. Do you know Matt Ford, the comedian? And
you can show me his face and I'll probably know.
I was on the stage with Matt Ford and then we were doing a quick fire, like yours, Q&A with the audience. And this guy asked a question that was kind of critical, but not less of me than of Tony Blair. It goes back to what you were saying earlier. And Matt Ford had said, can we have very short questions and very short answers? Okay. So the guy asked the question, and it was quite long. And then I said, Matt, you asked for short answers. I'll give you one. I just said the W word, pointing at the guy, right? And people laughed and thought it was funny, etc., etc. And he was a bit of a W. But, and as they were all laughing, I thought, oh, I shouldn't have done. That was really bad. That was really bad. So I found the guy later and I said, I'm sorry about that. It was just one of those moments when I go over the top. So I now have this thing in my head called a W switch.
Oh,
And if I'm feeling my stuff rising in me that I think I'm going to go over the top, I just go switch.
yeah, tone it down. That's self-awareness, isn't it? That's great self-awareness because
It doesn't always work, but 8 times out of 10 it works.
it works for the most part. So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Do you ever get hurt, or maybe you used to, like, because you just explained that that you don't get hurt by abuse anymore, but did you used to, or you've always been confident?
I don't think I did. And I think one of the reasons is that I think having been a journalist, and especially when I was writing columns, very strong opinions, I'll tell you something that was very important. I'm going to do a major name drop now.
Okay.
Okay, Princess Diana.
Wow.
First time I ever met her, she said, why did you used to write those horrible things about me in the Daily Mirror? And I said, God, did you read that shit? Did you read that stuff?
When you were writing it, you never thought she was going to read
and
it.
And she was like, and I now know, I got to know her quite well, and we talked a lot about media stuff. She used to read everything, and she'd remembered it.
Wow.
And it was like, and I'll tell you another story, right? I mentioned that Sport Burnley Football Club. I used to get upset when my mum got upset. Well, she did get upset. She used to get upset when and her neighbours used to bring the papers around. Oh, look, see, they're writing about Alastair again. It would say, something vile piece about me, right? And I remember when I was I was probably a teenager, and I was at a Burnley game I can't remember what it was a away game, and I was next to this couple who were a lot older than me, and we conceded a goal, and our goalkeeper was completely at fault, right? Made an absolute mess of it. So I'm screaming at our bloody goalkeeper, right? And
What are you telling him?
I'm just saying, you effing this, and just sort of venting for a bit. And this woman just says, I understand why you're upset, but that's my son. And that made a big impression on me. So actually, I don't criticise our players now. So I think you've got to be. So I think I'm pretty good with criticism. I'm good at separating out criticism that's not worth listening to criticism that is.
That's the best way to be, because if you listen to everything,
I don't even check what people say on social media. I can't be bothered.
So you don't check the comments?
Not really. I might do if I'm bored, but I can't be bothered really.
If you're bored.
Generally not. Generally not.
Fair enough. I think for me, I get a lot of abuse online, especially on TikTok. But what happens is, because I filter out the words, that I can't see them, which is good, because then it protects my mental health. And it's so easy to soak all of that negativity in, but I try not to. And
I mean, when I was, I don't know if it's still around, but when I was growing up, there was parents would always say to their kids, what is it? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt you. Well, it's not true.
It's not true.
Words hurt a lot of people, especially now. And of course, the whole social media thing is it's monetized through hurting people. That's the whole point.
Right.
Not the whole point, but it's a point. And, but no, I don't. And the other, to be absolutely frank, so I've got 1 million followers on Twitter, and I've got not that many on Instagram, because I don't do much on Instagram. And I get loads of stuff through all the different sites, and people can go on my website, and, so if you're not careful, you literally do nothing but look at stuff. Well, so I just think it's easier to look at nothing. And what I sometimes do, if what I am interested in, because I'm interested in communication, and communication's changing. So, for example, I'm interested in why suddenly, if I put something on social media, say I tweet something that I might expect to get, I don't know, a few thousand likes, say, and actually it gets next to none, or it gets tens of thousands, right? I'm interested in that. I'll think, why did that connect in that way and that didn't, right? And so then I might have a look to see what people are saying. But other than that, just no point. There's one guy, I sometimes check this guy because there's one guy, I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of saying who he is, but he literally comments on every single thing that I post.
Yeah, he's a big fan.
He really isn't.
Oh.
No, he really isn't. He really isn't.
Oh, he's the opposite.
He's the opposite, yeah.
He just wants to critique everything you do.
Everything, yeah.
Well, really, that's a fan as well, because it's like, he really is invested in you.
Yeah.
Invested in hating you. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's another type of fan.
But so that sort of stuff makes me laugh. But I think I can see why for a lot of people it's not, I think unless you're educated about how to deal with that, I think it's very difficult. That's why in sport, for example, I feel, you're in a similar, as you say, you get a lot of abuse and stuff. But I think for footballers, they're young, they're often young kids. They suddenly become quickly very, very famous, very, very rich. And because they're famous and rich, people think they can say anything on them, and they should be expected to deal with it. Why? I was watching a thing this morning. Harry Maguire, the Man United player, who made a bit of a mess of things last night. There's this guy in the Parliament in Ghana making a whole speech about Harry Maguire, comparing him to the guy who's running the Ghanaian economy. What? It's actually quite a funny speech. But if you're Harry Maguire, that's pretty brutal.
Oh, God, they probably have to shut themselves.
You've got to shut themselves out.
Yeah, they can't. But
then at the same time, a lot of them want to be out there, want to do stuff. I mean, is Ronaldo still the most followed sports guy in the world?
Is he? No, I think it's Messi. It should be Messi.
What? Social media? No, Ronaldo is way bigger on social media than Messi.
No, but I thought Messi overtook him after.
No, you're not on social media.
Yeah, on
okay.
Instagram.
Oh, you may be right.
I might be wrong.
No, you might be right. Well, who cares?
But I thought it happened after Argentina won.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay, you might be right.
I don't know. I might be right. I might be wrong.
We can check it out.
We can check it out.
Put it in the show notes.
Definitely. Let's talk about your book again. So.
Fat! You're going to drag this out of me.
No.
It's called, but what can I do?
Yes, it's called What Can I Do? So your new book is called What Can I Do?
It's called But What Can I Do?
Yes. Sorry, let me get it right. Your new book is called But What Can I Do? And it's dedicated to people who want to make a political change but don't know how to. What are your suggestions for those people that face backlash to their activism?
Everybody who's ever been an activist has had some kind of backlash. If you think about all the great changes that have been made in the world, racial equality, women's equality, gay rights. There's a quote in the book. It's one of my favourite quotes ever about anything, and it's from Nelson Mandela. And it's that everything is impossible until you make it happen.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you think about him, 27 years in jail, right? Fighting something that felt unwinnable, right? But he won.
Wow.
Now, okay, it took a long time.
Yeah.
So that thing, everything is impossible until you make it happen. You mentioned Vogue.
Yeah, I made it happen.
That was impossible 10 years ago.
It really was.
That would not have happened 10 years ago.
Would never
Certainly wouldn't have happened 50 years ago.
Never.
No chance.
Happened.
No chance. So that was something. Now, it's not quite the same as ending apartheid. Getting you into Vogue. Not quite.
Definitely not.
But yeah.
But, we can.
But it's part of struggle.
Yeah, it's part of struggle, yeah.
Yeah. So everything is impossible until you make it happen. I think that's... And so I'm not saying to everybody, because if everybody went into politics and everybody tried to get elected to politics, we'd be in a complete madhouse, right? But I am saying to people, the book ends with telling people literally how to get into politics. But the rest of it is, first of all, trying to analyse where we're going wrong, populism, polarisation, post-truth, all that stuff. How did we get in a world where people like Johnson and Trump got to the top? You've got to analyse that to work out where we've gone wrong. Then it's about how we look after ourselves, mindset, mental health, strategy, building a team, all that other stuff. Perseverance that we've talked about.
Yes.
We've established that Fats Timbo is perseverant. And then the third part is really about, okay, you've decided you want to make a difference. How are you going to do it? And it's not just about politics. I mean, you mentioned activism. You know, I've got a whole section on people that most of the people who read the book will never have heard of, but who've done stuff that's really made change. Single issue campaigners. My daughter Grace, who got involved in that whole period poverty campaign. You know, I was one of the proudest moments of my life when I was standing outside Downing Street, and she was part of this sort of protest thing, the outside, and making a speech with all these other people, and then, you know, in the next budget something happened. So, you know, there's the Gina Martin, the upskirting. She literally single-handedly got the law changed. Not single-handedly, because people had to vote to change the law, but she started that campaign.
She made it happen.
She made it happen. And if you'd have said, you know, when she first had that experience of some guy trying to take a picture of her up her skirt, and then she went to the police and they said, well, there's no law. If you'd have said to her then, you know,
you're going to change the law.
Do you think you'll get the law changed within, it wasn't that long, right? She'd have said, well, no, how am I going to do that? Well, she did it.
She did it anyway. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I think changes like that really help future generations to not do things like that. And I think it's so important to have that, because we've had that going on for so long, guys being misogynistic and them getting away with it because there's no laws to protect women in that kind of way. Even stalking, catcalling, there's so many things to it, but because the law doesn't protect women like that, like in those sorts of realms, or even cyberbullying as well, there needs to be more things out there, because as the world is changing, there's new ways to come for people, you know? So we are going to move on to Commandment 4, which is trust the journey. The path to your dreams will at first seem so long, but if you learn to love the journey, you will never get tired. Do you often stop and appreciate where you've got to?
Maybe not as much as I should. I'm usually on to the next thing.
Right. So if you made a big achievement, you're like, okay, what's the next big thing that I can do?
Maybe this goes to sort of being a depressive, but if I have a big achievement, I tend to go down afterwards quite quickly. Unless I'm onto something very... So like, for example, when we won our first general election in 1997, I now realise that I was depressed quite quickly afterwards.
Wow.
So I have to keep sort of moving on, I think. I don't... Bill Clinton made a terrific speech at this conference in Belfast, and he said this thing about, he said, you know, I only really tell war stories about the past as if it's kind of relevant to now and the future. And I think it is important to try to do that. It's when you're being somebody like me who's you know, when I get interviewed and stuff, even if I'm talking about stuff that's off today, I'll always get introduced as the guy who worked for Tony Blair. I'll always get introduced as the guy who worked in Downing Street, whatever. And I can do all this other stuff. And it's not that I'm not proud of that. It's just that I feel you're always...
Stuck? Do you feel stuck?
No, I feel that people want you to be stuck because they want you to be defined in a certain way.
Right.
Whereas actually the most important thing is it's why I do all the stuff I do on mental health, because it's stuff that I wasn't involved in at all when I was working in government, because it wasn't my place, it wasn't my job to do that sort of stuff. So actually coming out and doing stuff like that, I probably enjoy that more than a lot of the other stuff I do, because it kind of feels, I don't know what it makes me feel, but I enjoy it more. And I think it's because it's not connected with that in a way. Does that make sense? Or does it sound a bit mad?
No, I get what you mean, I think. And I feel like because you've written so many books, and this new book that you've got out now is going to help
What's
so many
it called
people.
again?
But what can I do? But what can I do? No, I remembered.
Anyway, and you know, you said it's actually dead. The reason I chose that title is that is what so many people say to me.
But
They
what
say,
can I do?
yeah, they say, look, I hear you banging on about the Tories. I hear you banging on about climate change. I hear you banging on about inequality. But what can I actually do?
Yeah.
That's what people say all the time. And I say, you do whatever you can do. It might be you can't do much, but it might be you can do something.
Yeah.
What you can't do is just turn away from it. So we're sitting in this very nice studio, right? I got off the tube down the road at Charing Cross. I walked up the Strand. I counted 11 people on the street. I mean, either in a tent or in a doorway. This is in the middle of London in the middle of the day, right? 11 people. Now, but what can I do? People will walk past and say, but what can I do? Well, there's lots we can do.
Yeah.
There's lots
so
we can do.
much.
So, and that's why, that's why in the end politics really, really matters. So the first thing that we've got to do, Fats, is get rid of this bloody government.
I know.
Okay.
You do. I'll do that for you.
Okay, thank
We'll
you.
manifest it. We'll manifest it. So what part of your journey do you enjoy the most, or did you enjoy? What was like a proper celebratory moment for you in your career?
In my career?
Yeah.
The best moment was definitely 25 years ago. It was the Good Friday Agreement in Belfast. I'm not a big celebrator.
You need to be more of one.
Yeah, probably.
Celebrate your life, celebrate your achievements.
I celebrate my life, but I'd much rather have I don't like parties.
You don't like parties?
I don't
Why?
like
Do you not like to dance?
No, I'm not a big dancer. I like music. I love music.
What about vibing? Well,
No, I've never vibed. What's a vibe? What's vibing?
You don't have to dance.
I like good. I like being.
I
like being with people I like. I like a good mood. I love music. I tell you what I hate. I hate events where you're expected to feel the same as everybody else.
Really?
Yeah.
But everyone's got their own
thing. No, you haven't.
There's some people that are just bored in the corner. There's some people helping out with food.
Yeah.
There's the dancer. There's the person that's helping out with, I don't know, organisation. And yeah, me, I'm the dancer. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a dancer and helper. So
You are.
yeah, the person at the party, I'm the life of the party. So
I can be sometimes, but sometimes I just don't want to be there. And what I don't like is when, because you're there at a party, you're supposed to have a good time.
Right.
I quite often don't feel like having a good time. And what I really can't say, and this is where Fiona and I have got to quite a good place, if I don't want to be somewhere, the worst thing you can do to me is say you've got to be there.
So she lets you do your own thing now.
I wouldn't say that, but she understands more.
Okay, she understands, but you still have to be there.
No, she's pretty good. She's really good, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Now listen, how many commandments? We're doing all 10 commandments.
Yes, we're doing
Because we've only got 20 minutes left. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, that's why we're moving on to the next one. Okay, 5. Let's zoom past it. I think maybe for each one, I'll just ask one question.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Okay.
Because we dove deep into those last 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Commandment 5. Only doubt itself. The words I can't only become true if you don't. When and why have you doubted yourself? Because you've spoken a lot about mental health and depression. Is that is self-doubt a factor in that?
I doubt myself all the time. All the time.
How do you overcome that?
Maybe you don't. I mean, for example, I'll tell you something that nags away at me the whole time, and it's made worse by the fact that even just it happened twice on the train this morning, right? People saying to me, "Oh, you've got to get back involved in politics more than you do now. You can't just be on the sidelines. You've got to get in. You can make a difference." Da da da. That makes me feel bad because part of me feels that I should, but part of me feels that I shouldn't because I think it'd be damaging to me, my health, my family, etc. And part of me thinks I did my bit, and I'm fed up of being asked to do the same thing again.
Yeah.
But that fills me with doubt about whether I've actually done enough, and whether I've actually really made a difference. And then I get doubt. I'll tell you where I get. So that's doubt on the kind of macro level,
Okay.
big picture. Doubt on the micro level does me in the whole time. Should I get that train or that train? How many shirts shall I take?
Isn't that like more indecisiveness?
No, I think it's a sort of form of the same thing. It's a sort of low-level anxiety about stuff,
Okay.
which is feeding into bigger doubts that are going on, that are actually about the meaning of life. So yeah, doubt.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when I'm making decisions, though. Alex Ferguson used to use this phrase a lot. Where there is doubt, there is no doubt. So if you're thinking about where there is doubt, there is no doubt. So let's say you're offered a job,
Right.
okay? If you're not sure, it means you're not sure. And if you're not sure, don't do it. So where there is doubt, there is no doubt. I use that a lot.
That makes sense.
For decisions.
Where like people ignore their gut feelings a lot of the time.
It's not just about gut feeling. The gut feeling is important, but it's then actually, once the gut feeling's settled and you've subsided into that, what are you actually thinking? And if it's still niggling and nagging away at you, then there's doubt and you don't want to do it.
Good tip. That's a very good tip. Did you have any doubts moving into broadcasting?
Nah. I mean, I don't see broadcasting as being any different to talking.
Yeah.
Me talking to you now is how I would talk to you if there were no cameras and microphones here. Just talking.
But it's just the art, I guess, of doing it. Nah. At first, it's scary.
Nah,
like,
so
you've never been intimidated by cameras and mics?
Not much. Maybe 40 years ago.
Okay.
A bit. No, not much.
Not that much now.
No.
Fair enough. Okay, we're going to move on to Commandment 6. See, I told you we're going to speed past these.
Yeah.
Discover new perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the chance to see the world, then do it. You will see yourself differently when you discover new perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So has there been... have you seen any differences in how other cultures approach politics and activism?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which countries?
Oh, they're all different. I mean, for example, in Australia at the moment, there's a referendum going on about the voice of the Aboriginal community. So that's a I can't think of an equivalent here that would be sort of similar to that. So that's a different sort of debate. I think that every political system is different. I think if you go to there are parts of Latin America where politics just feels completely different to here. Listen, the perspective of travel. It's not just about travel. It's actually about the different perspectives you get from the people you meet and the places you see. I've been to, I don't know, I've never counted it, but I've been well over 100 countries, and
Well over 100 countries.
Yeah, because when I worked with Tony Blair, we were
traveling all the
time, way over 100.
What's your favourite country that you've been to?
Depends what it is, really.
For peace.
For peace of mind.
Yeah.
For peace of mind. It's just hard to say. I just 4 popped into my head straight away.
What are they?
They were France, Ethiopia, Australia, and Ireland. Now they're very different countries.
Very different. Wow.
So what's happening there is I just think you asked the question, a few memories pop in. Ghana. I loved Ghana when I went there. Yeah, I went to look at the mental health services in Ghana, which were just grim.
My dad's been to Ghana. He's helped out with mental health there as well.
That's twice we talked about Ghana, isn't it? We talked about Harry Maguire in the Ghanaian Parliament. I think my favourite country in the world is Scotland.
Why is that? When I went, it was very grey. I love Scotland, I do, but it's very grey.
Well, it's only grey when it's grey. It's grey in London today.
Today?
Yeah. Sun's shining in Scotland this morning. I heard it on the radio.
I'm jealous. Take me there.
No, I love. Well, partly because of my background. My parents were both Scottish. I play the bagpipes. I think Scotland physically is. Once you get to the north of Scotland, the only places I've ever been to that have got close in terms of the majesty are Ethiopia, New Zealand,
Right.
pretty amazing. Parts of Japan,
Japan. I want to go Japan.
Canada, parts of Canada. I mean, but everywhere. I'll tell you, I've definitely got to an attitude now. When I'm travelling, it's very rare that I don't think, oh, this place is amazing. There's always something amazing about it.
Maybe because you've travelled so much and it's not as new.
No, I'm saying everywhere I go is amazing.
Oh, everywhere you go is
Yeah,
amazing.
I went to Benin for the first time.
That's
a couple
somewhere
of
in
years ago.
Africa,
Yeah, and it's, very poor country. But God, it was amazing. Amazing, physically amazing. So yeah.
Sounds good. What about what other African countries have you been to? Because I'm from Sierra Leone.
Yeah, I've been there.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
What did you think of it? Do you remember it?
Do you know what? I went there. I was literally there. This is one of the times in government where we were just, zipping around from different country to country. What are the countries? Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt,
Wow.
South Africa,
Kenya.
yeah.
Wow.
Probably most of them. Congo, Benin.
So interesting. I do want to be like that as well, to go around the world and just work, change the world, really.
Yeah, you got to change the world.
That's what I want to do.
Keep changing the world.
So
It's not just about being in vogue,
yeah, it's not just about being in vogue, but it's cool though. It's very cool. Okay, let's move on to Commandment 7. Commandment 7. Stop. When your dreams have come true, it can happen so fast that you hardly notice. Stop and take a look around, because it may be happening to you now. So, did you ever stop to enjoy the moment when Labour won power in 1990? It says 1998 here, but is it 1997? See, I know a few things.
That's only because you listened to me last time.
I was listening.
Yeah.
In 1997.
No, I didn't enjoy it. Because I was on. We'd had the campaign, the election campaign. We won it, and then I was starting a big new job the next day, running the government communications, and I was absolutely exhausted. So I didn't enjoy the moment at all. I'll always resent that.
But if you lost, wouldn't you feel worse? Or you felt
Oh
worse?
yeah, sure. Oh,
but
God,
you felt bad for winning because of the stress.
No, I didn't feel bad for winning.
But
I loved winning.
You loved winning.
But at the time, my whole life was dedicated to winning that.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy it in the moment.
You should have enjoyed it.
I know, because I was on to the next thing. In fact, there was a party at the festival hall. There was everybody sort of having it. And I was just like, I can't stand this. We've got so much we've got to do. It's always about the next thing.
Moving forward, right, do you think you'll try and enjoy the moment, or you're still going to...
What, forever?
Forever.
Well, look, tomorrow, I'm going to see Burnley against QPR tomorrow. And if we win, we're going to be champions of the championship, right? I'll enjoy it. Like we were at Middlesbrough a couple of weeks ago. We won to get promoted. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
But I didn't then go out on the Raz. And,
I'm not asking you to go
I enjoyed
on
it. I loved it. It made me feel great. But I don't think that's happiness. That's feeling great in the moment. Happiness is something you build over time.
Right.
That's my view.
I feel like in the past I was definitely not happy, but I feel like now I'm at a place where I'm genuinely happy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and this brings us on to the next commandment, Commandment 8.
Mm-hmm.
Love you. Learn to love yourself and then someone else. Do you love yourself? Would you say you love yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I think I try to have an honest assessment of myself. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people probably think I love myself too much, but I know what my foibles are. I know what my weaknesses are. I work on some of them, but some of them I just think, oh well, it's who I am. Nothing I can do about that one. But yeah, I think so. I hope I love other people more though.
Like your children as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I mean, Fiona and I have been together for 42 years. It's funny, this last few days when I've been away, so we've been together now for 42 years, and it is. I never sort of thought of this in the past. Because, truth is, it was times when it was touch and go. When I was working in Downing Street, I was hardly ever home. She was having to bring up the kids and do a job and all that stuff. And, and I wasn't always very nice. And I think it was touch and go. And I now look back and think, God, if we had sort of split up at any time, I don't know, that would have done me. And I think now, in our mid-60s, I think, so this is what will go back to life not being about the moment. It's just like, and the sort of love I feel for her is just beyond anything that sort of I've ever known, and it's grown in a different sort of direction.
It's evolved.
It becomes something very, very different.
That's a beautiful thing. Oh, that's so cute.
Cute.
I find that cute. That's so nice. Would you say do you express your love for her to her face?
Yeah, and she gets really annoyed by it though. Yeah, she's not as romantic as I. I sing to her quite a lot, and it does her head in. I sing. There's certain tunes like "Flower of Scotland," the anthem "Flower of Scotland." I can sing wherever I am. Oh, flower of fats, Timbo. When I can do that.
Yeah, I was getting into it.
Your fingers.
Yes.
As I sing, I can do that, right? I can just be in the moment singing that, and I do it to Fiona, and that's actually when she knows I'm getting a bit manic.
Okay.
But so I do tell her I love her. Yeah, much more than she tells me. Way more. Grace will listen to this and tell her.
Yes, she will. She will.
Yeah.
Good. That's what we want her to do.
Yeah.
Next commandment is
Number
commandment 9. Be heard. It is hard to thrive in a world that doesn't seem to respect people or listen to your perspective. It's even harder to make it change, but just because it's hard, it doesn't mean it's not necessary. And just because they don't listen, it doesn't mean that you won't be heard. I feel like throughout this whole thing, we've been speaking about advocating and changing and, your passion for it. I want you to explain how important is it, especially the fact that you wrote about it in your latest book, how important advocacy is.
Do you mean by that, though, that it's important that people...
Speak up, be heard.
Yeah, be heard, yeah. Listen, nothing changes without it.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. So, and one of the things I want to try and do with this book is it's like, again, sorry to keep banging about Northern Ireland, but it's just I've been there. But yesterday I was with these kids from Northern Ireland, and I said, a bit rash, but I said at the end, I'm going to send all of you a copy of this book because I feel there's I sent, when I was writing the book, I sent the drafts at various stages to loads of people that I know, young people in the main. And there was a young guy who got in touch with me called Tariq, and just out of the blue while I was writing the book, he didn't know I was writing the book, but he got in touch with me saying, I want to make a difference, but I don't know how. One of these, but what can I do, guys? And I ended up, I'd never met the guy, I still haven't met him, right? But the way he phrased what he was trying to do, what he was saying about the world, I thought, oh, this kid's quite smart. I sent him the draft. I said, have a read of this, tell me what you think. See if you think there's anything that you could sort of... And he came back with some fantastic comments. But one of the things he said was that, back to the thing about the private schools and the elite, they basically get given loads that makes them feel confident, and then they get given more. And therefore they feel there are no limits. He said children from his sort of background are brought up to think there are limits, and then they're given more limits.
Exactly.
And that's what we've got to break down.
Definitely.
But we're not anywhere near it. We're not anywhere near it.
Yeah.
And what happened? And sometimes, say like you take somebody like yourself, right? And as you say, perseverant.
Yes.
You've broken barriers down, and you've kicked walls in, and all that stuff, right? And that's great, and people can be inspired by that. But sometimes what happens is we get people who do it, and they become the exceptions, not the rule. We've got to make it the rule.
We have to.
Yeah.
It's so essential.
Yeah.
So essential.
So be heard. Be heard's not just about And listen, I've never struggled to get heard, and particularly having done the job I've done in Downing Street, I'll probably get heard regularly. People say this is one of my favourite criticisms, is every time I'm on the radio or the television, people say, why is he on again? Who gives a shit what he thinks or says, right? And I love that, because basically the people who ask me to do it do, right?
Precisely.
I can get heard. But I do try genuinely to use my voice to help other people get heard as well.
So important. So important, especially for the next generation. Teach them confidence. Teach them how to be heard.
And you can teach confidence.
I believe so.
I mean, the techniques.
That's why I'm doing it with this book. You know.
Oh, have you got a book out? I didn't know that fact. Oh, there it is, right in front of me.
Yeah. Right
You're
here.
obviously a much better salesperson. I didn't even bring the bloody book.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Will you put it in the show notes?
Yeah. I pretty much make sure that it's you
Wherever
can see
are.
it right here.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. On to the last
Number
comments.
10.
Number 10. Right? Look back and then forwards, because both learning and dreaming are time well spent.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you want people to take from your book moving forward? Your new book.
Depends who they are. I say in the introduction, my dream is that somebody, let's say aged 24, who's kind of interested in the world around them, picks it up and has a read. And then on the day I die, that person is the Prime Minister.
Yes.
And they post a picture of themselves with my book saying, this is the book that made me want to go into politics.
That is beautiful.
So that's the dream. But then anybody who reads it and thinks, well, I don't want to be a politician, but yeah, I get what he's saying about campaigning and I care about this. I'm going to find out where the campaigns are on that. I'm going to go and join one. And if there isn't one, I'm going to start one. That's what I want. I want people just to get engaged. Because I'll tell you what, one of the many things I despise about this government, they're trying to disengage people deliberately. They're trying to make you not vote through the voter ID registration thing. They're trying to get you cynical. They're trying to make you think they're all as bad as each other. There's no point changing the government because the other lot are just as bad as we are, kind of thing. So I'm trying to make people less cynical. So I'd love it if people just, thought, yeah, I could do that.
That's good. You need to, it's good to encourage people to be able to not fear their own fears.
Yeah.
And just make them more confident. And it's okay. You can be an activist. You can do this campaign.
And also, the thing about perseverance, it's fine to balls it up. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's fine to fail.
Yeah.
It makes you learn for the next time.
Yeah.
Just one of those things. But it's been amazing having you on my podcast.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to come in and help you promote your book.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for giving me advice on what colours to have on my nails.
Yes, exactly.
I would never have. Here's one for you, right? On my wall at home, in my office in our house, I've got Post-its all over the wall, little sayings and stuff, right? And one of them is, never go to bed without knowing something you didn't know when you woke up.
Wow.
Now, what's the thing I've learnt today that I didn't know when I woke up?
You can have black nail polish.
Close. It's about the nails. It's the French tip.
It's the French tip.
Never knew. I've learnt something.
You've learnt something
French
today.
tip.
And I've learnt all about politics today. And I've learnt that you got a new book out.
Called?
What? But what can I do? But what can I do?
But what can I do?
Get
But
it
what can
in.
I do?
Yes.
You see how you say it?
But
It's
what
either,
can I do?
But what can I do? Or, but what can I do? Or, but what can I do?
But what can I do? I can do all of them.
Yeah.
But what can I do? But what can I do? Just get the book. Check it out. It'll change your life. Change your perspective. Why not?
Fats, it's been a joy.
Thank you so much.
And I'm now going to go and do lots of interviews about Dominic Raab. Do you know who he is?
No.
You don't know Dominic Raab?
If you show me his face, I'll probably know.
No, you won't. If you don't know, he's the Deputy Prime Minister and he's just been given the boot.
I probably know.
He's a bully.
Know. I've seen pictures of what the Parliament looks like and some people in power. I'm most people in our generation right now who don't know much at all. So, yeah. Okay, so this is the end of the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe and see you at the next
subscribe
podcast.
to The Rest is Politics, the
Yes.
UK's #1 podcast.
Make sure you subscribe. Yeah. Thanks for listening today. It's been fun. Remember to look out for my book, Main Character Energy, 10 Commandments to Living Life Fearlessly. It will be available at all good bookstores. Now.